Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wave Channel 5 as we continue our series, Our Town, as we take a look at things that make Greenville, Ohio, the town we choose to live in. In conjunction with Main Street Greenville, we've traveled over here on West 3rd Street, and we're going to talk to the Jasenskis here with elementsLife Studio. Alex Warner, along with videographer Nick Schmidt, and let's start with CJ here. CJ, tell us a little bit about your background, first of all. I know you're a Greenville native.
Yeah, I graduated 1990 from Greenville High School, and after that I went to college and lived several different places and made my way back here, which is where I met Emily, who is 10 years younger than me. So I had to wait around for a while until she caught up. And once we met, then we both moved to Columbus and came back here. Once we had our children, well, actually our oldest son was born, and we decided to make Greenville our home.
Okay, very good. And Emily, now you were a Stiegel, correct?
Yes, I was. Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself then, a little bit of your background.
Okay, well, I graduated in 1999 from Greenville, and I have a BA in Mass Communications from Wright State. So while I was in college, I met CJ, and then he pretty much finished the story. We went off to Columbus together and got married and had children, and then once Liam was born, we decided we wanted to come back here and be close to family.
Great. So what brought about all this? Because this has evolved over the years to what it is presently, correct?
Right, yeah. It definitely, it started out as a part-time business, and we were located, our first shop was above Unique's. Okay. And it was very small, it was a part-time business, and then things happened and things started to take off, and we moved to another location above her aunt and uncle's, on the 3rd floor of her aunt and uncle's building, the Cornells, right. And so that really started, it started to get a lot bigger once we were there, and then she decided that we needed a 1st floor location. So then we moved again, and we moved right beside where the chamber most recently was. At the end of Broadway, down by the Annie Oakley statue, and that made a huge difference. A lot more foot traffic, a lot more exposure. Right. People were sitting at the light wondering what's going on in that place that says yoga in the window. So that really increased the size of our business. And at that point in time, we added teacher training as well. So it was no longer just a yoga studio teaching yoga classes, but also became a yoga school. And that has led us down a brand new path that continues to grow, and that's really the path that we're on at this point in time. We still continue to have public classes, but a lot of that is a vehicle for our students, the ones that are in teacher training, to be able to utilize their new skills. And so we're really excited about this new path, and we plan to add more and more in that direction, training the trainers basically over time.
Now, how long have you been down at this location on West 3rd Street? For you old timers out there, it used to be what, a hardware store, correct?
Yes, I believe he's going to have way more knowledge about the building because he really did most of the work in it. But we've been down here 4 years.
Okay. And now you've kind of changed too, because didn't you have like a market in here at one time? And I mean, you're constantly kind of changing to meet customer demand?
Yeah, we're constantly changing. Yes, we opened with the studio here and then the 3rd Street Market next door, and that's something that CJ did. I mean, we both did it, but it was really more of his. And we had local, organic foods. We had some artists in there that had different types of things. It was really great, but our demand here became so much and so overwhelming that we really just felt it was best to close it, and so that he could really help me focus here. And then so Jesse moved next door, and that was a perfect collaboration. Yeah, that was an interesting show we did with Jesse Berry at Young Forest Martial Arts. We did that a little bit ago.
How'd you happen to decide to stay in the downtown area?
Well, we've always loved downtowns. My degree's art and architectural history. So I've been involved in a lot of the development of downtown. I was involved in the Palace building. I was involved with Montage. At one point in time, Montage, before it was Montage, it had a drop ceiling and carpet on the floors because it was a furniture store. And I was tapped to go in and help on the renovation of that, and that was very exciting for me. I was 21 years old, and it was a passion of mine at that point in time to help with the preservation and renovation of historic buildings, but getting the opportunity was great, and that kind of set me on a career path that's always been in the background of everything that I've done is to be involved in downtowns. And in fact, when we lived in Columbus, we basically attempted to recreate the small town experience by living close to the downtown area of Worthington and Westerville. We were about halfway in between each one. And one day we finally looked at each other and said, why are we trying to make this happen here? There's something great back at home.
Okay. Now, how long have you been involved then in yoga? Because you said you had a degree from Wright State in, what was it? Mass Communications. Yeah. So how did that lead into yoga then?
Well, it really didn't. No, it really didn't. I started a yoga practice probably 13 years ago, 14 years ago, my own personal practice. Just absolutely fell in love with it. And it was actually here in Greenville. I was in college and I was teaching Pilates at the Y. And they asked me, they were like, hey, do you know anything about yoga? We need a yoga instructor. And I was like, sure, I can teach yoga. Why not? Which is kind of scary now that I know what I know about yoga. But meaning just because it's so in-depth and definitely requires definitely training for sure. And so I started that journey of teaching and absolutely fell in love with it. And then when my oldest son was born, I knew that I wanted to go through teacher training. And I was actually working at a yoga studio in Columbus at the time, part-time in the evenings. Okay. And the interesting thing about that is I wasn't teaching because I wasn't certified yet. So I was just front desk. I was kind of a manager, assistant manager, which was awesome because I was learning all the ins and outs of running a yoga business. So, but kind of by default, because I didn't even know at the time that I wanted to own a yoga studio. So it kind of just all worked itself out. But yeah, it's probably been 13 or 14 years.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Now, do you practice yoga too?
Yeah.
Not to the extent I'm sure Emily does.
Not to the extent that Emily does, yeah. At one point in time, I was coming to classes on a regular basis, but life and two boys has filled in. We have a lot of sports and events to take care of in the evenings, so I don't really make it to class very often. But I do my own yoga practice at home. Yeah. Sure.
You know, I took yoga for maybe, I think, almost a year out at the Y. I called her the yoga Nazi. Jules Chiquino. Yeah, and I tell you what, I'm more flexible than I was, but I'm no place flexible like these guys are, because I got in there and I thought, I work out like 4 days a week at the Y and have for 25 years. I thought, oh, this will be a piece of cake. I'm not kidding. After about the first pose for about 5 minutes, I was the only male in the class, and I was just dripping sweat off the end of my nose. It's quite a workout.
It definitely can be. I mean, and the beautiful part about yoga is that there's so many different paths that you can take with it. In the West, we are very focused on the physical part of it. People want to get flexible, they want to get fit, and that's all awesome. But there's definitely all these other components that just make it truly a rich experience for everybody that goes through it. And that's where our registered yoga school comes into play, because for people who really want to learn and they really want to immerse themselves in it, they get that opportunity in the school.
Well, I tell you, we're going to come back with CJ and Emily here in just a minute, and we're going to take a look and talk a little bit more about the philosophy of yoga, and maybe go in one of the rooms where I understand that's where private sessions are conducted, and talk a little bit more about when you come in for the first time, kind of what to expect and how things go along as you take the yoga classes. Anyhow, we'll be back in just a minute here as you watch the Downtown series here on the Wave, Channel 5. We're here at elementsLife with CJ and Emily Jasenski. And Emily, tell me where we are right now and what we're under and kind of what it's used for.
This is my private client space. So this is a room I do private sessions in, as well as you're underneath the red tent. So the red tent is a really special women's gathering that we have once a month. We meet on the new moon each month, and it's kind of a sacred space. Red tents are popping up all over the country, all over the world, actually. And it's just a place that women can come and be together and share and nurture each other, and it's just a wonderful thing that we do.
So that'll vary from month to month depending on when the new moon is. And the significance of the new moon.
The new moon is just, there's a lot of significance, but it's really the energy of the new moon. The new moon is a kind of a darker time energetically, and so it's really great for women to come together during that dark time to kind of nurture each other and just be there for one another. So
the dark times, you hear about biorhythms. Does that have something to do with that? The physical, mental, emotional, or am I on a different subject? Probably on a different subject.
I think it might be. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe there is some biorhythms with it, but I don't know much about that. So exactly.
And it's only for women.
Yes. There's only women, and you have to be of menstruation age to come, and also nursing babies are allowed to come. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they sometimes different red tents all over the world do all kinds of wonderful things. They have menarche ceremonies. They have blessings for new babies. Oh gosh, they do all kinds of wonderful things for women who are pregnant, and it's a really nurturing thing. We just started it a few months ago. I started going to one in Yellow Springs, and so I decided to bring it here.
What's the response been so far? I mean, it's like anything else. It's new. It takes a while to build up.
Yeah, and it's not totally associated with Elementslife. Like we don't advertise it on our website or Facebook pages. I have a private Facebook page that I communicate it to because it's been nice for me because it's not about business. This is something that I just do for me. So surprisingly, because we have just very organically let it out there, we have anywhere between 12 and 15 women usually. Yeah. So it's been pretty interesting.
So that's under the red tent here at elementsLife.
CJ built the tent. He put the tent together and helped me construct it and put it together.
I just feel like I'm in a cabana or something out in the middle of the desert. Okay.
Want me to bring you a drink?
No, later. Hey, CJ, let's talk a little bit. You said the yoga training and so forth. You talked about 200 hours. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, the initial program we started with is the 200-hour yoga teacher training, and that's a nationally certified program through the Yoga Alliance. So whenever we began that, and I said that was in our prior location, was our first yoga teacher training, we did it mainly because Emily was teaching all the classes. We had no other certified teachers in the community, and she needed a break. So because of all of her experience up to that point in time, she applied to the National Yoga Alliance, and we were approved as a yoga school. With that said, out of her first class, I believe you graduated 8 people out of your first class, and we've, through the years, employed almost all of them at different points in time, and that was a great help. So we saw that it was a great thing. Not only is it a training to learn how to do yoga, but it also really encourages a lot of introspection. Just like any educational experience, you come out different than you did whenever you went in. And so we really liked the results that we saw, and so did people in the community. So we did it again and again. And now we've expanded. We have a 200-hour teacher training here in Greenville that's going on right now, as well as one in Richmond. And so we're utilizing a studio over there, and they're hosting, and we have an elementsLife yoga teacher training there. Most teachers, if they're new, are not able to teach a yoga teacher training and have it be nationally certified because they don't have enough experience under their belt yet. So with that, and with the popularity of yoga in the world as well as the United States at this point in time, it's a very hot market. So we're starting to expand out. This next year, we are going to have another teacher training here in Greenville, as one in Bell Fountain. So we're really reaching out to a community that's not real close to us, but it's a very similar community to our own.
How long does a session last? You say it's 200 hours, but is that a 6-month training course of the 200, or to take an entire year, or how long?
It's 13 months. So they come for full weekends, Friday and Saturday. They're here on Friday night from 5:30 until 9:30, I believe, and on Saturdays from 8 a.m. until 5. And through that, my wife has done an amazing job. She's not the only one who's teaching the 200-hour. She's bringing in experts from around the region, which makes it a much more rich program than what you might find somewhere else. So it's a really great thing. It's not only a training in how to do yoga, but also it's a training in culture, and they do field trips and things like that. So
that's what we're going to talk about. Kind of give us a brief summary or synopsis of yoga. In 50 words or less.
4,000 years.
In less than a minute, I hope.
Oh my word. Okay, I'll hurry. So yoga is life. Yoga is your breath. It is your movement. It is your relationships. It is everything that you touch, everything that you feel, everything that you know. It is everything. It's everything and nothing all mixed into one. And maybe this will sum it up best way possible, because I can get really over the top with it, is I had a teacher say something who was actually a guest teacher from teacher training 2 weekends ago. And I loved the way she put it in the simplest terms. And that was, yoga is not about self-improvement. It's about self-discovery. And that's really, because so many of us come to yoga and we're like, again, we want to get flexible, we want to get fit, you know, or we want to de-stress. And those are all perfect reasons to start yoga. But what one learns when they're on the path long enough, or what they discover, is themselves, which is pretty remarkable.
Sometimes the light will go on then, right?
Absolutely. The light goes on.
Well, let's talk, because there's different kinds of yogas, aren't there?
Oh, there's like over 500 different styles of yoga.
So what are the top two, most popular 2 or 3?
So you're going to have, like, Hatha yoga is probably one of the most popular. And the way that I describe it is that it's kind of like the umbrella. And then underneath the umbrella, you have all of these other 499 different styles of yoga. You have vinyasa yoga, you have hot yoga, more of a Bikram style of yoga. You have Shivananda yoga. I mean, there's so many different styles. So Hatha is going to be kind of the beginning of where the yoga postures came from. And really, you know, the ancient sages who were studying the ancient texts of yoga in the caves thousands of years ago, and they were practicing detachment from the body. So they did a lot of meditation, in other words. Their bodies became very stiff. So that is where the yoga postures came from, was to basically prepare them to sit for hours in meditation. So that was kind of the birth of Hatha yoga. So that is your basic form of yoga.
So when I do, say, downward dog and warrior pose, is that part of that particular branch of yoga?
Yes. And it's part of really all the branches. And that's what I mean by the umbrella, is that you've got Hatha yoga, and then all of these, or Hatha yoga is more like the trunk of the tree. And then all of these branches are all these different styles. But for the most part, they all come back to the trunk of the tree.
And I'm going to probably say this wrong. Asana? Did I say that right?
Asana.
Asana.
Asana means posture.
Posture.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's the class I took at the Y. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Of
Something
course.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes. When somebody comes in, well, first of all, the best way to contact you, your phone number, and then also through social media, I presume, is the best way to contact you, or what?
Yes. Yes. Website, it's elementsLife.com.
We have a beautiful website. My husband does our CJ does our website, so it's beautiful.
The phone number is 937-417-3592. And so website, Facebook, Twitter, we're on all of it.
So how does somebody, what are your hours, first of all? Because you have private classes, right? But somebody comes in and you say, how many are in a group usually, if you have a group starting out, rookies coming in first time?
Well, we have a beginner's class on Thursday night, so that's usually where we guide people to go to, unless their schedule does not allow for that. We also have 2 gentle classes during the week during the day. So if they have availability during the day, that's where I push them to those classes to get started. And then we have intermediate classes after that. So we usually have between 8 and 11 classes on our schedule all the time. Some daytime, some evening. How to get started, best way is to give us a call, and then we'll have you show up for that day's class and do a little bit of paperwork, and then we'll get you into class and show you how everything works, and then the class will begin. And
Do you have set hours here?
well, office hours not necessarily, but class hours, yes, and those are all on our website.
Okay.
And we at this point in time, we do a 6-week session. So like we are starting summer 1 session right now this week. And so this will go on through mid-June. And then after that, we'll go into summer 2 session, and then we'll start in with the fall sessions.
Are those like twice weekly or 3 times weekly or what?
There's a couple different pass options. One is you can do a once a week for 6 weeks, or you can do an unlimited class pass, which means that you can go to all of our classes anytime. And then we also have a membership option, which for $50 a month, you can become a member, go to any class that you want. And then we've also partnered with several other downtown businesses and people within the community to offer discounts. It's like a friendly neighbor kind of thing. So if you're a member, then you get a membership card and you get to fly shit at places like the Arcana and Arcanum, as well as Sadie Grace and Uniques. I can't remember who else.
So you've networked quite a bit then.
Yeah. That's one thing that we've done over the past 8 years is, we've really not only networked to help us, but to help our neighbors. That's a big part of our mission here is to tap in and really help people get to where they need to go. It's a community.
Now, to get started, somebody walks in right off the street that first time. Really, it's fairly inexpensive as far as what you wear or mats, so there's really not a lot of startup cost, right?
No, not at all. And I know that, yoga can be very intimidating, especially when you see what the media or how the media portrays yoga, super flexible, super fit people. And I always, make sure to tell people, like, we're so relaxed here. That is so not what we're after. So come as you are, whatever space that you're in that moment, and just have fun and be with it. You can just simply wear what you would normally wear to work out in. We just ask that you don't wear, especially for the ladies, no tight or no loose fit shirts, because you will be in downward facing dog. You know how that is. Right. And you really don't even have to have anything. We have all the props here available. We have blocks, mats, straps, blankets, and that will all make sense to you, knowing what all of those things are when you get here. And even, if you did want to have your own mat, you can go to Walmart and buy one for $10 or $15. So, really, it's so easy to get started.
Now, it smells so good in here. And I have music in the background playing. That's an important part of the yoga session.
Yeah, it's really about the experience and creating an atmosphere. We want people to be able to come in here and just leave the world behind them, and when we shut the doors to begin class, they're shutting the world away and all their worries and all their stress, and they're just in the moment. That's what it's about. Mm-hmm.
My favorite pose was the corpse pose. Is that what you call it? You want to explain? Yes, that's the word. You want to explain what the corpse pose is to the good people out there?
A corpse pose, as I recall, I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the same one.
Wrong person.
My favorite, Shavasana, laying on your back flat. Yeah, it's pretty hard.
I was really good at that, I tell you.
I'm really good at child's pose. I used to attend some of Emily's classes at different points in time whenever I could get babysitting, and she can, at that point in time, she was all about making me sweat. Well, every once in a while I would just yell uncle and just go into child's pose and just wait there until she stopped making it so rough.
I tell you folks, if you haven't taken a yoga class, the postures, you think, well, that doesn't look, it's hard if you're doing it the correct way and hold it for the proper length of time, and your breathing technique and everything. This is not, it's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. And it's, but we also, again, I work with people who, that are going through cancer treatments. I work with people who have MS. I work with, and that's the beautiful part about yoga is literally for everybody. Mm-hmm. You've got those classes like probably what you attended, which were definitely a little bit more challenging and what I used to teach. Mm-hmm. But then you have more of the gentle side of it, for people who do have physical limitations or people who are ill or, not maybe up to par. So there is yoga for everybody. There's even yoga for kids and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the mental aspect of it and the emotional part, and then being a chiropractor, I think the flexibility that to me, movement's life and life is movement, correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's, so much of our work is very similar in some ways, that we do. The more you move the body, the more you move the energy, the more, you just feel better, you just feel better.
Now, what are your plans? We've talked about how long you've been here and how this is like your third or fourth location and how you constantly are changing the business aspect of it. What do you see down the road for Elements here, say 5 years, 10 years from now? What would you like to see, ideally?
Well, that's a whole can of worms that you've just opened up.
That's what I'm best at.
We're habitual entrepreneurs, so if we get a good idea and we feel confident about it, we try it, just like the 3rd Street Market. We had the space, we tried it out. It didn't necessarily work for us at the time, and so we moved on, and we have no problems with that. At one point in time, we had a deli in the Palace building. It didn't work out for where we were in our life at that point, but it was a great experience, and we moved on. So with elementsLife, one thing that has captured our attention for the past 8 years is the opportunity to go in a lot of different directions. You know, we've got the public classes, which is what you'll find in most yoga studios, but then private sessions came along pretty early on, and that's really one of the first things that changed the business and made it more lucrative and more profitable for us to be able to provide more opportunities for other people. And so as we moved forward then, like I said, the yoga school has come about, and we've now dubbed it elementsLife U. So we're feeling like a real university. But in the next 5 years, our vision is to bring in more trainings, more opportunities, workshops, and things where people can tap into it. This industry is just now getting a lot of attention, but it's only going to grow from here. And even though we're in Dark County, things are a little bit, move a little bit of a slower pace around here versus what we saw when we lived in the city. We know that every time that we offer a new service, something that we're finding in the city, and we make it something that can happen here, we get a great response. And not only are we pulling in people from Dark County, we're pulling in a lot of people from around a 75-mile radius. We're doing things that they don't have in their own communities, and so that's a great opportunity for us. Her current teacher training has, I believe, about 8 students in it. Is that correct?
6 in Greenville and 13 in Richmond.
Okay. Now, you say you bring in people from outside. You bring in people from overseas. Is that what you said here?
Well, okay. So in the fall, we're starting an advanced yoga teacher training. So the way CJ explained it to you earlier is that the 200 hours like getting your bachelor's degree and the 300 hours getting your master's. So it's like an additional 300 hours of training. And I don't personally have the qualifications to teach that at this point in time. So, which was great because I get to collaborate with other people, which I love. And so we are bringing in teachers. 2 of them are from Cincinnati. One of them lives in Loveland, which is just outside of Cincinnati. And Leela teaches nationwide and worldwide. She teaches in India twice a year at a yoga ashram. She has lived in a yoga ashram, which is like a yoga living community for 3 years. And these people have so much experience, so much training, and they live yoga every day. And they're going to be the faculty for our new program in the fall.
Is that on your bucket list to get to India?
Oh, 100%. He doesn't want to go though. So yeah, no, I will go. And now I've met all of these amazing people who are like, oh, I'll just take you with me next time I go. I'm like, yay. So yeah, I would love to go.
You're probably flexible enough they can just put you in their suitcase and take you over, right?
Well, I don't know about that, but I would really like to ride in an airplane seat, I think, for that many hours. Oh my word. Yeah.
Well, hey, this has been the Jasenskis, Emily and CJ, and you might have recognized them. They're TV stars in their own right from a few years ago. You want to talk just a second about that? Because if I don't ask that question, people will be telling me, why didn't you ask them about that?
Well, do you want to know how we got on the TV show, or you just want to know about it?
Yes, briefly on both.
Okay, well, briefly, it's Deanna York's fault.
Oh, really?
She contacted me, said HGTV is looking for someone to do the Endless Yard Sale show. She saw it on Facebook, I believe, and I thought, well, what the heck? Sent our application in. That called us. They said, hey, we want to interview you. They interviewed us. Within like 2 days, they said, you're on the show. So it was just very bizarre. It happened very quickly. So we traveled down to Tennessee, and I can't remember what the name of the town.
I can't remember, but it was like north of Chattanooga because we ended in Chattanooga for the show.
This wasn't part of the 127, your garage sale. Yes. Oh, it was?
Yes. Oh. 127 runs from Georgia to Michigan. Right. And this specific area in Tennessee was an area that it was called a hotspot. The HGTV would film the show every year. So, but we did some travel. Like we started in this really tiny little town. I can't remember the name. And we would film there for like a day, and then we would drive south, maybe an hour. And really, it was all taking place in a lot of small towns. But when you're on 127, that's kind of, exactly. So, and then we ended up shooting the finale of the show in Chattanooga. So it was so hot. It was August. in the Appalachian Mountains. It was so hot. Whatever. It was so
There were mountains.
We were in mountains, whatever. We were in mountains and it was so hot. And but it was so much fun.
Yeah. And if I remember, you guys won the contest, right?
We did. We did. Yes. Yeah. It wasn't just because of me. Yeah.
But it was based on how much they valued what you purchased, correct?
Yes. They gave us a certain amount of money. Right. So for the $200 that we had to go out and get items that we thought were worth more than what we purchased them for. And whatever that margin was, we competed against the other two teams. So our margin ended up being larger, like on the first contest, and then our overall margin, whenever they added everything up, I'm pretty good at that. So in the end, we did win. And I don't know if you recall, but the Junk Gypsies were the hosts. Yes. And so I think secretly they were kind of cheering for us. Actually, the whole crew. It was kind of funny. The other contestants, their crews kept coming over and chatting us up, and saying, "You guys are doing a really good job," and things like that. And I think the other contestants were a little miffed. I know the two girls from Texas weren't real happy whenever we won, but.
Well, I know a lot of people here kind of followed that once it was known that you were on the show, and it worked out great. Well, anyhow, this has been Elements Life with Emily and CJ Jasenski, and thanks a lot for sharing some information. Again, your phone number?
It's 937-417-3592, and you will probably get a hold of CJ, and he will answer any questions that you have, and if there's anything that he can't answer, he will send you to me.
Okay. And your website?
Is www.elementslife.com.
Okay. So from here on West 3rd Street, I don't know if there's a proper bow we do to sign off. There we go. Anyhow, on behalf of our videographer, Nick Schmidt, I'm Alex Warner. And thanks a lot for watching as we take a look at those businesses that make up Main Street, Greenville, the downtown area of the town we call our town, Greenville, Ohio. Till the next time, we'll see you later here on Channel 5. Good night, everybody.